So tonight I learned how much television and movies fuck up your perception of life and reality. I watched with my grandma tonight No Country for Old Men. And I watched that when it first came out when I was living with my immediate family, my mom, my dad, my sisters. And they like that shit. They like violence and just random ass killing. But since I lived with them at that time, and I was around them all the time, I saw that as normal. That movie had no plot. It was a killer chasing a guy, and in the end, you thought it would pay off, but he kills the guy. He kills the guy's wife. He kills the guy that's trying to help him. And then a car crashes into him, so you think, good, he died. But then he escapes and walks away. Nothing happens. Then the movie ends. So I wasted an hour and a half of my life watching a guy murder people. Do you even know what happens when you see death? Your adrenaline and dopamine spike. And if spike is the right word, it goes up temporarily. That's why violence in movies is popular, because there's no point to it. You are negatively impacting your subconscious mind. You aren't giving it. It's just like doing drugs. It really is. Seeing violence is just like drugs. You are getting dopamine released in large amounts, and then it goes away. So you need more. You need to encourage that horrible factor. There's no point. Growing up with my dad and all of them, my mom was the only one who said, don't show the kids violence. And now, as I'm older, I understand that it doesn't do anything for you. Violence doesn't fix anything. It doesn't do anything. You don't gain any skills. You don't gain any logical anything. You don't gain anything from watching violence. Growing up, we watched Looney Tunes, and that was hilarious, but it was still just violence. Random acts of violence for no reason with no payoff is the worst kind of movie on the planet. And the movie just ends. The killer gets away, which is a terrible payoff, and it ends with an old man talking. How does that movie have eight stars? It baffles me. When I watch subliminals, I actually learn something. If you watch a fighting subliminal every night for a year, your automatic reflexes will do those fighting moves against another person. When you watch television and you watch the Hallmark Channel, you're perceiving an unrealistic version of reality, which will soon become your reality if you keep watching it. If you keep watching Comedy Central of people making fun of and roasting each other, which is the stupidest fucking show in the world. I hate that show. That show where they just say rude things to each other. Who the fuck likes that? When I was living with my dad and my immediate family, they loved that. They ate that shit up. And as a kid, I wasn't wrong. I really wasn't. You think you're wrong when you're a kid or a teenager because you don't get along with your immediate family, but then when you're an adult, you're like, there was nothing wrong with what I was saying. It was just pure hatred towards another human being. Why? It almost to me seems like a sickness to like death, violence, and hate. It just shows how depressed you are when you watch those things. You hate yourself inside, so you hate everyone around you. I was that way. Until I combated those fears and admitted them and then stood up to them I half the stuff I said as a child was valid. It made sense. Here's another good movie idea, a movie example. When that stupid ass movie came out, I forget what it was called. It was a girl who was in an insane asylum because she killed her abusive stepfather. I forget what it's called, but the premise of the movie was that she's in an insane asylum with other girls that were locked up there and they're abused. But they go into this imaginary world where they need to get keys. They have a plan to escape. So instead of just getting all the objects to escape, no, that would be too normal. They have to imagine and fight ninjas and just do all this useless shit. So when I was a little kid, I told my family, this movie is pointless. It makes no sense. Why doesn't she just get the key, the map, and a distraction all on her own? It would be like a 5-minute movie. But instead, they go into war zones, they get killed. It's like 5-year-olds you playing imaginary. And because I didn't like that movie, I didn't fit in with my family. My family grew up on movies. Literally, a movie would be played every night and it was always violent. And I didn't see the point to it. And as an adult, I still don't see the point to it. Salmon. I can't eat after 12 midnight because I'm going to my surgery tomorrow morning. I don't want to puke. But of course, for tomorrow, they're like, you can't drink any water. So I said, I'm going to drink water. The only reason they don't want you to drink water is because they don't want you a full belly of water to puke that up after the surgery or during. But I put baking soda in my water, which one, alkalines it, and two, neutralizes any stomach acid you have so you can't throw up. So I could drink as much as this as I wanted before the surgery and I wouldn't puke. And if you're dehydrated before surgery, you could either pass out or throw up. So doctors, you don't know what the shit you're talking about. People who blindly follow orders are the people who watch television and base their reality off reality TV. Just because you have a job that pays a good amount yearly doesn't mean you're smart. It means you follow directions and don't ask questions. You're a dog. You're a pet. You're a puppet. That's a good way to put it. People have said before to not eat in my videos. I'll eat in my videos if I want to. Here's a funny thing. When you laugh, this is why comedy and humor movies are so popular. It's because when you laugh, your neurons fire in your head. When you smile, your neurons fire. Have you ever smiled and you just felt this slight instant head high for a second? That feels really good. You just get this less than a second feeling in your head. Those are neurons firing, and it's a positive thing. Your brain actually grows smarter the more you smile. So when you're watching murder, death, killing, suicide, rape, you're not smiling. You're releasing dopamine temporarily, just like a drug. So if you're going to watch any movie, watch a comedy. The problem with comedies nowadays, mostly adult comedies, is that they mostly use sex jokes, farting jokes. That's it. Sex jokes and farting jokes. Hell, just watch Bad Neighbors 1. The movie starts off with him having intercourse with his wife. Yes, you, Seth Rogen, the film director that can't produce a good movie unless it has religion, sex, and weed in it. I don't think any of his movies are good. When I was younger, the only reason I thought uh, Superbad and 40-Year-Old Virgin were funny was because there were some tiny little funny parts. But if you go back and rewatch it as an adult or when you're older and more mature and you know more things, it's not funny. It is just sex jokes and drug jokes. That's it. It has no point. There's no point to the movie. Most movies nowadays don't have points. They don't have any benefit to them. Plus, when you're done watching a movie, your brain goes and is still left in an alpha brain state. Sometimes in a theta, but mostly in an alpha wave, which is that kind of feeling you get when you walk out of a movie theater because you're in a dark room with a giant screen, which is so bad for you, by the way, so bad for your eyes. All the things we do in society hurt us. One, celebrating. I never understood birthdays. Actually, I never understood that birthdays were bullshit until this year, at the end of 2016, because you are literally celebrating another number, and you're celebrating the fact that you're closer to death. When really, if you don't count your age, and every day say you're not aging, you won't age. You'll age slower or you won't age. Because why? Because we were never meant to die at the age we're dying at. People are dying at 70 normally. That's like the death rate in America. 70 to maybe 80, possibly. But we smoke cigarettes. We do illegal drugs. Some are horrible, some are good for you, some are... And we eat shitty food. And then we tell ourselves that we're not worth anything, and we become depressed, which shortens your lifespan. We essentially, as people, are fucking ourselves in the bad way. We all need to kind of just wake the fuck up and say, wait a minute, why am I doing the things I do? Why am I living the life I live? Why am I just following blind orders? It doesn't make sense. That's why when I see Leafy's channel and he's mocking someone, I'm like, this isn't entertainment. This is just a depressed dude who will never admit he's depressed, making fun of other people. Everyone is sad for some reason or another. If they can't admit that they're sad inside or that they have a problem, then they aren't worth my time. If you can physically admit that verbally admit that someone, one time or another in your life, hurt your feelings in a really big way that traumatized you or impacted you, then I like you. Why? Because you're being real. You're being yourself. You're admitting your faults you're putting your defenses down. You're not scared of what people will think about you if they'll laugh at you. No. No. I lost my train of thought. She walked past my door. Yes, I can sense who's behind my door. It's just that when you start to learn how to admit your fears and problems, you'll be happier. If you just make fun of people the rest of your life, you'll never be happy. Ever. Regardless of how much money you make, you won't be happy. You can pretend like you are. You can laugh at the person. You can laugh at me and say, of course I'm happy. You're not. Because you can't admit the thing that destroyed you when you were younger. You can't admit your faults. Unless you're like me, and you can. I'll end this video by saying, be yourself. Continue being yourself. And just because someone or something holds you back, don't give up. Good night, and share this video. Spread the word. The television and movies in this generation are horrible for your subconscious and don't do anything for you. Listen to subliminals. They will help you.